You're welcome. Thanks for the invite, Derek.
Hey, anytime. Hopefully everyone found this. He was able to break it down because I know sometimes economic data, my eyes blur over, but it was important to know to bring in so that you guys can see what's going on economically here. So with that, we do have one other sponsor here with Stratton and Bratt. His name's Hiram. So we will turn it over to him. He'll take about 15 minutes to go walk through what they do and what they bring to the table. And then we'll go from there. So you're up, Hiram.
Thank you. Danny, thank you for that. That was really awesome and really well presented. The title of this little presentation is called Why the Bitterness of Poor Quality Remains Long After the Sweetness of a Low Price is Forgotten. In the landscape industry, there's a whole wide variety of landscapers. You have everyone from the mom and pop who have a couple trucks and it's them and their boys or them and a friend out doing landscaping, to big national companies with billions of dollars of revenue doing amazing work. My anticipation or my vision in this discussion is not to talk derogatory about any company or any practice, but to just shed light on what you may or may not be experiencing in the industry when it comes to landscaping. So I'll talk a little bit on construction, landscape construction, a little bit on landscape maintenance, and then we'll have a open time for comments, questions, and other aspects in that regard. In the construction industry, when it comes to landscape is usually the last piece to be put down in new construction, and it's one of the things that is required to get occupancy for a building. Each city or each area requires specific codes or zoning when it comes to landscape. Some of those codes are out of date as far as water wise or being smart that way. They require specific amounts of square footage of turf or a certain number of trees and types of trees that haven't been updated to match the way water has been going in our state. So we have been working with companies and owners to strategize to get across that occupancy barrier, which is getting everything put in that needs to be put in to get across, to get occupancy. Once you have occupancy, you have the ability to make changes to that landscape. And so we strategize how to be the most water efficient after we've installed that landscape. So we get occupancy and then we remove some of the turf and change that to more of a xeriscape landscape. Nothing that would ruin the design or the aesthetic feel of the way the landscape was designed by the architect, but to enhance and to add long-term longevity to the community, especially as I think Utah is in the top 5 of the fastest growing states in the nation, meaning we have more people moving into our state and into each of these counties in our state, which is going to increase pressure on our water supply. It's just the natural cause of things. So if we can, as landscapers, work hand in hand with our property management groups, with our city officials and others to help improve the way that our landscape is going so that we can have more water-wise landscape, that's what our whole goal is. The owner of our company, his name is Kevin Stratton. He is a legislator on the Hill. And so he helps push very heavily on items that pertain to the construction landscape industry to try to help us be more future looking when it comes to things. There is a downside to this type of water wise thought process. Nevada is a really good example, especially Las Vegas. You pull out turf and you replace it with artificial turf for coloring. What you're doing is creating a heat bowl. So there's a certain level of amount of turf to total square footage that actually reduces the heat temperature in an area, and using that strategy or those statistics to put in just the amount of turf that will help reduce the heat bowl of a property is going to be strategic as we move forward. To remove all turf creates just a radiant heat scenario, and then you have to use heat sensitive plants, which in the area like Iron County, you have the luxury of the hot summers and the disservice of the cold winters, as opposed to St. George, where you get more mild winter. I think we'd still say it gets cold if you're getting to freezing temperatures, but more mild on a general basis. They have the luxury of being able to do more of the hardy, hot, sensitive plants, where Iron County has a little bit of a weakness in that regard because winter will do severe damage to those type of plant material. So that's just an idea that we have there. I read a book recently, and there's a line from this book, and I wanted to take this discussion into another direction, which is talking about integrity of people, integrity of companies. It's a depiction of what lies do to a person. And so I thought we'd have this little discussion and apply it from a person to a company. And so the quote is, lies have a way of diluting a person. The longer you live them, the more you become a bucket of mixed paint, steadily veering toward generic brown. In our company, we have a very high standard. We want to be known as being ethical, being a company of integrity. And so we're going to work with you guys, and I hope all other companies would do the same. But our goal is to be straightforward with you, giving you fair pricing, fair opportunities, but then setting everything in a way so that we're open and transparent. There's so much distrust in the construction and labor industries because of companies trying to drive revenue instead of trying to drive what truly brings revenue, which is our clientele base. And so they can do shady practices or shady things that lose the trust of those who control our ability to do work. So our company vision is we build people first, then we build communities, and lastly, we build landscapes. Landscaping is what we do as a company, but it's third on our priority as far as what's most important. People and communities strip and far outweigh grass and plant material. With that being said, plant material is a living system. They're living plants. And so a company that performs poorly or does a disservice to you, turning back to the why bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of a low price is forgotten. We come back to this point of you can pay a landscaper a very small amount of money to do the very basic levels of service. Those basic levels of service may not be what is in the best interest of the plant material or in your property. So a turf that gets diseased or damaged can take multiple years to get rid of the disease. Grubs is a 2-year process. If you're heavy treating it and you remove the turf and plant new turf in those areas, you can get it done in a season. But if you're going to do a natural and do a little bit of overseeding, you're looking at 2 years to take care of grub damage. And grub damage usually comes from stress, such as not enough water or other fungal diseases. Brown spot is another one of those fungal diseases that we face pretty heavily in Iron County and St. George as a whole. So being able to properly treat for the health of the plant material ultimately leads to that high quality, happiness, and long-term success. That's not necessarily the cheapest method of doing work, but that's one of the belief systems we function on as a company, is that poor quality has a greater weight on our memory than the joy of saving a buck in the minute. Okay, well, I want to open this up for a discussion and let you guys have any questions that you have, and if you, whatever else you guys have been experiencing that I might be able to help answer for you.
All right. I guess no questions for you, Hiram.
Perfect. Hope you guys have the rest of your meeting.
Okay, appreciate you.
Thank you. See you guys.
So, okay, so we're a couple minutes early. Let's make sure we're representing